Message from Sunnahfollowers. This is from Sheikh Solid. We need to unite. Sisters, wear your hijab. Wear your beards. Be proud of your beards. Stay home, stay home, stay in your home. Stand up, unite, and stand for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
That's right, Solly. We all should stand up in solidarity, not transgressing the limits of the law, but standing together with patience and understanding. This is Sunnahfollowers.
With dignity, humility, and balance.
If you want to learn about how to balance and maintain your faith every day, you need to be here at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, being taught by Laila Nasheeba, streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Hope to see you there, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Yusuf and this is Ayub. And if you are benefiting like we are from the classes and the ongoing programming and tuning into the Sunnahfollowers, please donate. Let this be an ongoing sadaqah jariyah on your behalf. You're helping the kids, the conference, and everyone seeking knowledge. And it's a wealth of information every day you tune in. Don't forget, you are being rewarded for your generous donations to keep this programming on air. You know, just like what you're hearing, put your dollar where the dollar's at. Right here on Sunnahfollowers. Don't forget, donate. Right here to Sunnahfollowers and dollars out. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Listen, we are in dire need of donations to keep these shows running and available for you 24/7. So that means when you're in the car, it's available for you to listen to. Whether you're at work, streaming, playing a game, it's available for you to listen to. Rowing your deed and learning about the beautiful, beautiful, beautiful different topics of Islam. Listen, one of the heaviest deeds that could be placed on your scale on the Day of Judgment is sadaqah jariyah. Yes, I know, I'm trying to build deeds daily. So you can too. So listen, feel free, and please, from the bottom of your heart, donate to this wonderful cause, wonderful website and platform to continually push out shows that will benefit you and the Muslim Ummah. Yes, you can donate by going to the Sunnahfollowers.net website, pressing the donate tab. You can also scan the QR code in YouTube on the far left top of our videos that are streaming. Listen, guys, this is very important, and take this as important. We want to keep this programming available for you 24/7 so that you have access in your car, anywhere you choose to tune in to this wonderful programming. Yes, guys, it's all at your disposal. So listen, feel free to donate. Once again, remember, sadaqah jariyah, one of the heaviest deeds on your scale on the Day of Judgment.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to figure out what these buttons are. Can y'all hear me? This new stuff just popped up here. What is this crap? Wait a minute. What is this? Oh, they added new stuff here. Okay. All right. Oh, my eyes. All right, let's get started. I'm so tired. Inna alhamdulillah wa salat wa salam ala wa rasulallah. This is our series on what is this series? Establishing the Muslim home. Oh yeah. This is our series on establishing the Muslim home, and this is based on the book written by my student, Brother Daryl Abdullah Kirk. And this is a very interesting book. It's a book that I encourage all of you to go to Amazon.com and purchase, because once a person gets married, that's the easy part. Then you have to work on establishing and turning your home into an Islamic retreat, an Islamic place of safety, an Islamic place of security, and an Islamic place of worship for your wives and children. And we've been discussing a great epidemic that has impacted us as a nation. And this is what happens when we take on the lifestyle of the unbelievers. And that lifestyle brings about with it challenges within the home, abuses within the home. We spoke about physical abuse that occurs inside many Muslim homes today. Not just is there a lot of physical abuse, but spiritual abuse as well. Well, we then moved on to discuss another, sensitive topic, and that's known as molestation. And this has impacted many Muslim homes. As a daya, I get the calls all the time. As a teacher, I come upon many of my students who have come from such backgrounds of molestation. And the last time that we met in this class, we talked about that. Well, today we're going to go over some ways to recognize, because it's even worse today than it was years ago, because the Muslim family now has taken on the lifestyle of the non-Muslim family, whereas both parties are into working. It's all about the life of this world, making that money. So many Muslim homes consist of not only the men as being the breadwinner, but the women too. So the children are often left unattended by a trustworthy parent. And we leave our kids with neighbors, we leave our kids with uncles, we leave our kids with aunts, we leave our kids with cousins, daycare centers, masjids, where people may not respect your children the way you think that they will. And oftentimes our kids are molested by people close to them, such as a neighbor or a relative, or even an imam or someone in the community, the Islamic community, and they are afraid to speak about it. They're afraid to speak about it because not only does the perpetrator threaten them and ridicule them and make them feel bad to speak about it, but also it's just the kids are innocent by nature and they just don't want to talk about it. But it's something that needs to be addressed. And one of the things that I'm always speaking about here on my website, because the people, especially in my Zoom room, we have been introduced to many Muslims from all over the world, from Africa, from the Middle East, from America, Canada, UK. It don't matter what your race is, abuse has no color. Abuse has no race. Abuse is just part of the human nature, because the human soul is criminal by nature. And if the human soul has not been tamed with Islam to the point where it submits to the fitra of the heart, this happens. It happens. And so we're going to discuss some of the ways you can recognize if your child might be in contact with some type of abuse on a sexual level. So let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. Okay. And these are conversations we should have with our children by the time they're 6 years old. Let them know that no one should touch them in an inappropriate way. And this is why, like we spoke about the last time we met for this class, it's important for us as parents to adhere to the laws of Islam, the guidelines that our Prophet Muhammad put in effect. When our children are 6 years old, separate them. You separate the girls from the boys and don't allow them to sleep in the same bed together. When they're 6 years old, this is when you teach your daughters to not walk around the house in shorts. They should be wearing pajama pants with your pajama tops and robes, and the same with your sons. You should teach your kids when they're 6 years old to knock on a door before they enter. And you yourself as parents should have some haya or some dignity about yourself, where you don't prance around in front of your children naked or showing your body parts and things. All of this stuff helps to prevent this type of abuse from occurring in the homes. But of course, humans, as Allah says, man is forever ignorant. Man will turn away from the advice given by Allah and instead adapt his own way. So let's talk about it. Not only does this type of molestation occur from strangers, but it also occurs sometimes from a parent or guardian, a step parent, or your real parent. And this is worse because you have betrayed the trust. You have betrayed the amana as a parent, as a guardian over a child. You have betrayed that trust between you and Allah. And this can leave lasting scars on the mental, emotional, and physical well-being of the victim. Remember, our home is supposed to be a sanctuary. But oftentimes, especially in 2025, our homes become a place of betrayal, a place of fear. Okay, and I'm telling you, it impacts all Muslims all over the world. And oftentimes we're finding that the betrayal is from a trusted family member, a brother, a sister, a mother, a father, an uncle, an aunt. And this can, because of the person being so closely attached to the child, it leads to a lot of anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder. We see it a lot as Daya. I've seen it a lot in the field that I worked in before I retired from work. You know, this leaves a psychological impact on children who experience abuse at such a young age. And it's hard for them to get over it. In fact, they don't get over it. It never goes away. Things can trigger it. So now what I'm going to do is speak about some of the psychological effects that come from being molested on this level. And I want you parents to pay attention, because maybe your child may have some of these effects, and you might need to talk to that child. And the first type are the emotional and behavioral effects. How many of us have children that suffer with anxiety or suffer with depression? Some of us are born with that. I'm a person who I don't suffer with depression, but I have anxiety, but it's not that, it's a social anxiety. It doesn't come from being molested or anything like that. It's just something that, that's in me. But there are some people, some children who have experienced abuse of this nature, that it makes them anxious to the point of sadness. They're quiet. They're always sad. When you're talking to the child, you find the child is looking out the window, or the child is lost in another world. The child may live in fear, may be fearful. When someone enters the room, the child jumps. The child wants to fight or flight. The child may be worried about their safety. And you have a hard time finding activities that used to interest the child. You find that the child doesn't want to do those activities anymore. He used to play basketball, but now he doesn't want to join in. She used to not mind swimming in the swimming pool, but now she doesn't want to join in. Okay? They become isolated. And these type of feelings can persist into adulthood if they're not addressed. And this can lead to chronic mental health issues. Also, you may find that your children, their self-esteem have dropped. And by the way, these are signs in adults too. An adult that's been sexually molested. Same thing. This used to be a sister who was outspoken and who was so confident. Now her self-esteem has dropped. Okay? This was a child that took care in how she looked. She used to like to dress in pretty abayas, pretty khimars, but now she doesn't care about her appearance anymore. This is one of the first signs you can recognize. The girl doesn't care whether or not her clothes are pretty. She doesn't care anymore if she's even clean. She may stop taking baths. She may stop making herself look nice. She may adapt this ugly, dark appearance, this gothic look. No longer wearing colors, no longer wearing jewelry, no longer wearing makeup. She's making herself just not even exist almost. That's usually a sign of this type of abuse, some type of sexual molestation. Maybe she's been touched inappropriately, or maybe it was worse than that. These people believe that they are at fault, that they are unworthy, that they brought it on themselves. Why does the child or the woman go from wearing nice clothing to gothic look? Because she thinks she brought it on herself. Maybe I looked too pretty. I shouldn't have wore colors. I shouldn't have wore perfume. I shouldn't have wore makeup. This is shame, guilt, low self-esteem. Also, another emotional and behavioral issue that a person that suffers from this type of abuse may demonstrate is anger and aggression, always lashing out. Some children and adults respond to abuse by exhibiting anger and aggression towards others. She used to be a sweet, funny, comical girl. Now she's quick to punch you, to hit out, to lash out. This is a defense mechanism to mask their vulnerability. Subhanallah. Again, these are all changes that you see within the kid or the adult. Whereas the person wasn't like this before, but now this is the new person. That's a sign. And also, this type of molestation brings about cognitive and developmental challenges as well. For example, academically, look at the child's performance in school. Used to be an A student, now her grades have dropped. Now his grades have dropped. He's gone from an A student to an F student. Okay, he doesn't care about school anymore. He doesn't even want to go to school. That might be a sign that the person's experienced this type of trauma at school from a teacher, from an imam maybe. If it's a Muslim school, at the mosque, somebody at the mosque. Okay? The stress and trauma of this type of abuse can lead to difficulties in concentrating. It can lead to difficulties in your memory. It can take away your motivation. So when your children's grades start to drop, or if your kids go to a Muslim school and they don't want to go to that school anymore, they want you to take them out of the school, that might be a trigger, a sign that something's going on there that you need to be made aware of. Also, this type of abuse can bring about developmental delays in a child. If the child is young, like 5 years old, it can affect the way that child speaks, their motor skills, their social development. And these delays can have long-term effects on the child's growth overall. That's what I worked with. I worked with developmentally disabled individuals who were sexually abused and molested at a young age, and it messed up their motor skills, their language skills, and their social development. So the people I worked with, individuals I worked with, were aggressive. They were extremely aggressive. It was always fight or flight with them. They wanted to fight, okay, because of what had been done to them when they were young. This is really sad. Also, this type of abuse brings about social and relational impacts, trust issues. Okay, now the child doesn't trust you anymore. It doesn't trust anyone anymore. You used to have a good relationship with your son, a good relationship with your daughter, but the trust is gone. They don't even trust their siblings anymore. They have a problem with authority figures. They feel intimidated or threatened by authority figures. That's a sign that something can be going on with them, abusive wise, that you need to be made aware of. And this is a very common one, social withdrawal. The person that's been abused, any physically, sexually, or emotionally, any type of way, they go through social withdrawal. Okay, because they don't want to be judged and they don't want to be harmed. So they hide, they lock themselves in their room. Your daughter never locked her door before. Now, whenever she goes in her bedroom, she's locking her door. She's sleeping with mace and a taser. That's a sign. How many of you have people, your daughter, where do you get this mace from? Where you get this taser from? She's going to bed, locking her door, and she's got a baseball bat. She's sleeping with a baseball bat in her bed. How many of you have relatives that do that? Daughters, granddaughters, nieces. That's a clear sign that somebody is molesting her in some type of way or trying to. And she's trying to fight and protect herself at night. The child becomes lonely, withdrawn, depressive, and aggressive, man. These type of people I worked with for 36 years. Also, they have a hard time forming healthy relationships with others. They struggle to maintain a healthy relationship with you, their parent, with their brothers, their sisters, their teachers. Or they can become overly dependent on others, like my clients. My clients I used to work with, I could always tell if one of my clients was being physically abused or emotionally abused or sexually abused, because they would never want me to leave them. Or if I go out of town on a vacation and I come back to work, well, my clients would come to me and tell me, so-and-so yelled at me, so-and-so took my toy, so-and-so did this to me, and they know I deal with it. But when I would leave to go on vacation, my coworkers would say, Laila, your clients, they go in their room, they close their doors, they won't come out. They withdraw socially. They won't interact with the rest of us. The rest of us staff, we try to interact with them. They won't, because they only trust you. And they would call me on vacation, come back to work, because your clients are having outbursts because you're not here. They won't eat. They won't take showers. They only do it for you. That's what happens, guys. They can't form a healthy relationship with anyone else. They are the one person that they've learned to trust, who they see do defend them, do protect them. They attach to that person. They attach to that person and can't relate to anyone else. And there's also long-term effects too from these types of abuses. PTS. PTS is real. PTS is dangerous. PTS is hard to deal with. Many children who experience severe abuse develop this, and I worked with the severe ones, okay? They have flashbacks. They have nightmares. They'll wake up in the middle of the night wanting to attack you, to fight you. Okay? You can touch them on their arm and catch them off guard, and they're wanting to scream, holler, and retreat into a corner as if you've done something to them. They have severe anxiety, uncontrollable thoughts. Those are the ones I mostly worked with. I'm telling you, this is very, very, very traumatic thing to deal with. And many of them turn to self-medication and substance abuse. You know, your child, all of a sudden he's smoking weed. All of a sudden he's popping pills. All of a sudden she's drinking alcohol. You know, they're trying to forget. They're trying to get over the emotional pain of the abuse. So they turn to drugs, alcohol. Some even turn to sex. Your daughter was sexually molested by her uncle, who she trusted, or she was sexually molested by her brother, whom she trusted. So she feels worthless and turns to sex. So she allows any man, all the men, to just take advantage of her. Okay, this is her way of dealing with it, or not dealing with it. And this often leads to self-harm, suicide, suicidal thoughts, cutting yourself. A lot of the clients I had cut themselves. They would actually take a razor blade or scissors and just start ripping their skin. Okay, I can always say, what's going on? What's going on? What are you thinking about? I try to talk with them. Come on, sit down with me, talk to me, tell me, what type of dreams have you been having? And I would have them talk about it. And I would tell them, you're safe. I want you to know that you're in a safe place. You're with me. Laila's here. Laila's not going to let anyone hurt you. Laila's not going to let anyone touch you. You're safe. I have to tell them that. Then they'd stop cutting. And that's when they'd sit down and tell me, I just had a dream, you know, about my father. Why did he do that to me? Why did he do that? And I would grab them and hold them and say, you're safe. I'm here. If your father comes here, Laila will deal with them. So it causes them, this type of abuse has this type of long-term psychological effects. The abuse could have occurred 20, 30 years ago. But those something can trigger those thoughts up. That person can pick up a blade and start cutting themselves, or try to jump out of a window. And, you know, and all of that, you have to talk them down. You have to keep reassuring them that they're safe, that they're safe. Okay? So now, I want you guys to understand that this is happening. This doesn't just happen with non-Muslims. It's happening with Muslims. I worked for the developmental centers. I had a lot of patients, a lot of clients that I took care of for the past 36 years. And guess what? Many of them were Muslims. Many of them were Arabic. Many of them were from Iranian background, Arabic backgrounds. Okay? And their parents, this happened in their homes. And so their parents couldn't deal with this. So the children got messed up and they were institutionalized, and I was assigned to take care of them, being that I'm Muslim too. So I'm telling you, there's no racial discrimination for sexual abuse. There's no gender discrimination. You know, a lot of boys are sexually molested in their homes by their brothers. You know, kids experiment. That's why we have to watch our children. They experiment when they're jinn. When a child reaches puberty, his jinn or her jinn attaches, and that jinn gets the children to experiment with each other. We have to be aware of this as parents, okay, and have talks with our kids. And despite the severe impacts of abuse, you know, some children, in fact, many of them do display remarkable resilience I mean, it's something that they'll never forget. But they can be taught to deal with it, handle it, and still grow up and live a productive life. But it takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of intervention. It takes a lot of therapy. It takes a lot of mentoring. And it takes belief in Allah. Belief in Allah. Belief in Allah, guys. Okay? And you can't just trust your child to anyone to help them. It has to be a person that is qualified, that has the experience in dealing with children who have been abused on the different levels. Okay? If the person's not trained to deal with a child who's been abused sexually, the person's not going to help. Or a child that's been abused physically, it's not going to be of any help. And again, we have to have the supportive relationships too, such as caring family members, caring teachers, caring imams, and things like that. Okay, it's a long road to recovery, guys. I know. A very long, long, long road, but it can happen. I had one sister here, one of my students. She was Somali. She is Somalian. She grew up here and she's Somalian, and she endured a lot of sexual and physical abuse from the age of 4 years old up until she got married and left her home at 21. Can you imagine that? Being sexually molested and sexually abused by your father. She's Muslim, Somalian, abused by her father sexually from the age of 4 till 21. And she never got help, never told anyone, because in the Muslim culture, not just Somali culture, Muslims think that, I'll never find a husband if I let anybody know. Nobody's going to marry me. Well, alhamdulillah, Allah blessed her with a husband. And on her wedding night, her husband knew she was not a virgin, but he was a good man. He stayed with her. He got her to counseling. He removed her father from out of her life. He told her father, you abused your daughter. You molested her. So guess what? You gave up the rights of fatherhood to her. And I remember, to make sure of that, he called my teacher, Abu Atayib, Sheikh Morsi. That was back when Sheikh Morsi used to do classes here, because Sheikh Morsi was teaching me the deen. Okay. And I remember Sheikh Morsi talked to her father, and he told her father, the fact that you broke the amana, you broke the trust between Allah and yourself in regards to your daughter, you are no longer her guardian. You are no longer, you've lost out on any rights. And her husband doesn't want her to have no contact with you, and her husband is justified. So this sister never had help, but she found her help through this website. She came to all my classes, learned her religion, and her husband was very supportive and loving to her. She had children by him, and she was a protective hen to her kids. She still is a protective hen to her kids. She doesn't work. She stays at home. She takes care of her kids. She homeschools them, and her kids come here and learn the deen too. She's still here, part of my website. Her and her husband still married. Her kids are grown now. Her kids are in college. So she was able to get through her situation by finding her relationship with Allah. And she'll tell you that Allah is the one that helped her to overcome that. And Allah blessed her with a righteous man who saved her, who was her prince, that saved her from that life of abuse, both physical and sexual. This happens a lot in the Somali community. It happens a lot in the Arabic community. There's a lot of young Arabic girls who come from in the Arabic countries who are sexually abused by their brothers, by their uncles. So this is not uncommon. It's not uncommon in Muslim countries at all, guys. It's very common. So what I'm going to do the next time we meet for this class, I thought I did it. No, I didn't. I stopped here. Okay. I thought I put that here, but I didn't. What I'm going to do is speak about how Islam teaches us to not only prevent this stuff from happening, but also when you recognize that it is happening in your family, you know, what guidance Allah gives us and how to treat it. Now, I want you guys to know, first of all, in a Muslim country, and we don't live in a Muslim state here, but in a Muslim country, if a person is found guilty of sexually molesting a child, that's a capital punishment in Islam. And that even during the time of Umar, radiallahu anhu, when a man approached Umar, he said, "Oh, Umar, my daughter has been violated. She has been violated sexually." You know, Umar told him to bring the man to him. The man came to Umar, and Umar made him confess. He said, "Did you violate that girl sexually?" And the man admitted it. He said, "Yes, I raped her." And so Umar demanded his life. He said, "A life for a life. You took away her life." Because as her father is saying, he said, "Oh, you know, you took away her life. So a life for a life." So in an Islamic country, you rape somebody's daughter and you found guilty of that, that's capital punishment. And after the man served his sentence of capital punishment, the father came back to Umar, radiallahu anhu. He said, "Oh, Umar, what am I going to do? No one's going to ever want to marry my daughter. What am I going to do?" Then he said, "Don't you know that your daughter is still a virgin?" He said that man, what he took away from her was a piece of flesh, but he never, ever touched her innocence. He said, "No, you do not have to tell the male suitors that she's not a virgin, because she is a virgin. She's never experienced the tenderness that a woman will experience from a man. She's never experienced the sweet touches. She's never experienced any of that. So she's still a virgin. All she lost was a piece of flesh. So you do not have to tell the suitors that she's not virgin." And that's something that I tell my students who do come to me, you know, and tell me that they've been molested. "Oh, Laila, what do I have to let the people know?" No, because you're still a virgin. And when you do find a man that's going to marry you and love you, you will see just how much a virgin you really is, because it's nothing like having yourself ripped like that person has been ripping you for years. All right. So I'm going to stop right here. Subhanaka Allahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. And I know this is a topic that we don't like to talk about, but it needs to be talked about more. You women need to sit down with your daughters and let them know at the age of 5. I tell my grandkids now, sit down. You ain't getting on nobody's lap. Nope. You don't sleep in the bed with nobody. No. You let your daughters know when they're little bitty girls. And as the older they get, you explain it to them more. That no one touches them. And to not be afraid. Never blame yourself. If anybody approaches you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, you let me know. You let me know. I'll deal with it. All right. Okay, any questions or comments? Yeah, I had to. I didn't want to do this class, but I had to. Yeah, it's part of the book. Yeah.
I just had a comment, Sister Laila, that it's a great insight. So I was like, oh my gosh. So it's just a great insight. I never knew all these things.
Yeah, I used to work in this field. I kind of miss my job, but I kind of not miss it. But it's sad. I mean, the boys and the girls, they grew up into men and women, and they never forget this trauma. It never goes away. But there's triggers. But we need to nip it in the bud by just, and that's why I tell you guys, don't tell your children that just because a person's Muslim, they good. Because there's bad Muslims out there too. To be honest, there's more bad Muslims than there are good Muslims. That's why it's going to be more people in hell than in paradise. You have to teach your kids you don't trust nobody but Allah. You don't even trust your cousins. You tell them, just because that's your cousin don't mean that nothing. Just because that's your brother don't mean nothing. You don't let your brother touch you. This is why I tell my grandkids, I don't want to hear that. I don't care if that's your cousin. You know, you have to let them know that stuff. Because this is a sick world we live in. Yes. Yeah, any other questions or comments? Okay. All right. What is tomorrow? Monday. Tomorrow we have the Riyadh Salihin. Is that tomorrow? AY, y'all. What's tomorrow?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, brother. Anthony, you back in here. Okay. Where's your wife, Michelle? Where's Michelle? Ma belle, sentez-moi. Yes, tomorrow is Riyadh Salihin at 9:30. So I have the 6:30 class, which will be increasing your faith. And then at 9:30, I'll do the hadith, the Riyadh Salihin hadith, inshallah. And by the way, guys, please support this dawah effort. We are always in need of your donations to keep this dawah going. You can PayPal us, Cash App us, or Zelle us. In fact, let me go on this. I forgot we got a couple of Cash Apps. Let me send their Cash Apps to the website now. Okay. Yeah, please support this dawah effort. We are a nonprofit organization, and all your donations go to cover all the technology and stuff that we use to keep this website going. Okay, guys, inshallah, I'll see everybody tomorrow. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum.